everybody. Welcome back to the world of Concacaf. This is the World of Concacaf podcast. I'm Eric Schmitz.
I'm Jonathan Slape.
And I'm Donald Wine. Was that Jonathan Sleep? We
Yeah,
back. We're all back. We're all
Back
here.
from
I
the
mean,
dead.
it looks like on my Zoom that I see Jonathan there. It's like
That is
trying
his
to
pretty
touch
face.
the screen.
Look at that.
It's
So
so
cute.
good to see all of your beautiful faces. It has been a minute since we have recorded. First off, thank you guys for sticking with us. Thank you to our patrons. If you want to be a patron of World of Concacaf, you can do so at World of Concacaf's Patreon at patreon.com/podcacaf. Thank you to everyone who has supported this podcast as we've done it. We like to continue doing it, and we know it's been a minute, so we're doing it now. There's a lot to talk about, a lot of things going on. I do want to start off by saying our thoughts, our vibes are with the folks down in Jamaica and the Caribbean, Hurricane Melissa. We don't want to see anything terrible happen to our CONCACAF brothers and sisters. So hoping for the best as that storm rolls through this week, sending our vibes. But I do want to talk, soccer stuff. So we'll do that. By the way, did you guys see the CONCACAF U17 men's draw?
I
No.
did not.
Oh, yes, we
So
did. I did see the
I
group
threw in the
page.
chat because
Mhm.
it's something that the draw for the 2026 under 17 qualifiers take place in February, and the U.S. got drawn into a group with St. Vincent the Grenadines, where St. Vincent is actually hosting at Arnold Style Stadium. So I don't know what you guys are doing in February, but I'm gonna look into it. Go watch
Let's see
some
what these World
teenagers
Cup
play
tickets are
soccer.
talking about first.
Yes, yes. Donald, have you had any luck with World Cup tickets?
No.
Jonathan, have you?
No, I haven't.
I have not had any luck, and it sounds like most of you have not had any luck. I know there's a new draw going on that's opening up this week. You got to register.
It was supposed to start today.
It did
Yeah,
Uh,
start
like
today.
you can start the registration. We're
I
recording on
didn't.
Monday
I
the
didn't.
27th.
I did not get the. I did not get that email about the registration. I got the thing last week. So, um,
I'm just gonna do it
yeah.
next, do it tomorrow or at some point
Same.
this week. With the way the first one went, where it's like you couldn't even get in to enter the draw because so many people were trying to get in. It's like just enter later. I'll get my rejection email eventually. I'll worry about it then. Um, yeah. So speaking of World Cups, big news in Concacaf recently. Uh, Concacaf is at CONCACAF members bidding for the 2031 Women's World Cup. U.S. Soccer, along with the Mexican Federation, the Jamaican Federation, and the Costa Rican Federation, announcing that they are doing a joint four-country bid for the 2031 Women's World Cup. And at this point, there are no opposing bids. So it looks like the 2031 FIFA Women's World Cup is going to be happening in our region. Guys, thoughts, reaction, this World Cup coming?
So it's funny, right? I think first of all, as you mentioned, our thoughts are with Jamaica as they endure Hurricane Melissa, and hopefully, I mean, it's from speaking with people that are down there right now, it is expected to get really bad. They're expecting it to be the biggest storm to ever hit the island, and the hope is that they are spared most of the damage that would result from such a storm. And that has nothing to do with this, but it does have something to do with this because infrastructure, as we know in the Caribbean, isn't the quickest to recover from storms that they get. And so we're hoping that everything is okay. But having said that, Jamaica, Costa Rica having World Cups is incredible. And I like the fact that this bid combines all of the different sects of CONCACAF, right? You got the North American Union, you got the Central American Union, and then you got the Caribbean Football Union, all represented in this. And they haven't said how the games are going to be split up. Of course, we probably know that most of the games will be in the United States, but The
Boo.
office, right? The office having World Cup matches is amazing.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I for one hope that we can get down there for games. Just put the United States in the Jamaica group. I'm cool with it. Like
yeah.
we'll eventually come back to the United States, maybe.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing to me is so this is expected to be the first 48 team Women's World Cup. So there's
Correct.
going to be a lot of games to go around, which is also good for Costa Rica and Jamaica that they are going to get to host games against countries. Because, I mean, those programs are growing, but they're not, elite level. They're not top 10 programs, but they're going to get games that they might win on home soil. And I think that's awesome. We've been to the stadium in Costa Rica, some of us. Um, it's it's not far off from being the type of stadium that can host World Cup matches. Like I'm sure they're going to put some work into it. There is a lot of money to go around for this stuff. Um, the the national stadium in Jamaica has hosted big track and field events. It hosts big soccer games, but you would expect there to be some work put in. Man, I am looking forward to seeing that line of food stands outside that stadium for a World Cup. But the exciting thing for me is like knowing that where the game is in the United States now. The last time the U.S. hosted a Women's World Cup was 2003, which was the SARS relocated one. China was
Mhm.
supposed to host. U.S. was like the backup that came in last minute on the bullpen. But this is a chance with so much runway for the U.S. to build up the women's game and make it an even bigger event, and obviously infuse a lot of money into the sport on the women's side. I'm really excited about it. There's apparently like 30 cities in the U.S. who are going to be bidding for a chance to host games. We might see some new cities in there, Nashville. Um, would love to see it, but
That list that map, or I should say, that had like 30 cities. First of all, that wasn't an exhaustive list. It obviously did involve. There were some cities that were not listed on there that you would think would be involved in the bidding process, like Las Vegas. Um,
uh,
but I also think it would be great. And for me here, obviously, you guys in Nashville just missed out. Me here in Washington, D.C., just missed out. D.C. is getting a new stadium in 2030. Nashville's getting a new stadium next year or 2027.
27.
27.
27. So you'll have a stadium that's 4 years old. We will have a stadium that's less than a year old. It would in theory put both of our cities in the driver's seat to host matches, which I think is really cool. And for DC having a new stadium, just by the sheer stature of it being the national capital, would put it in line to host later rounds, like the semifinal or even the final, which I think would be tremendous.
I mean, Nashville could host for a women's World Cup, could do it with Geodis because like
Hmm.
there are lower requirements for stadia in women's World Cup. So
Yeah.
I mean that, and also I imagine they're gonna have to go small when you have a 48 team World Cup. Like they're gonna be a like we're gonna see it this summer too with the World Cup. Not this summer, this next summer. We're gonna see it a ton with the World Cup when this is the first 40 team World Cup, and there's gonna be a ton of teams out there that people aren't just gonna be like. It's awesome that Cape Verde is qualified for the World Cup, but like they're not packing out an 80,000 seat stadium.
Yeah. I mean, when you get to 48 teams for the Women's World Cup, you are talking about, you know, New Zealand hosting Chile in women's soccer. Like, are you going to get a full NFL size stadium? I don't know. So, yeah, maybe there are MLS stadiums that will get the chance. But I did also see New Orleans on the prospective city list. And yeah, World Cup down there would be crazy.
So I think the other thing, obviously, there's multiple ways you can play this, and we've seen how the ticketing process has been for the Men's World Cup for next summer. Nobody wants that to be repeated for the Women's World Cup. The drawbacks of having smaller stadium for the Women's World Cup and going with those smaller stadiums means that they would be able to then restrict inventory for a game. Obviously, we won't know in 5 years' time what the demand will be for some of these games and who the teams that will qualify, right? Like the fact that Canada has to qualify is a big deal for Concacaf because, and I'm sure Costa Rica, who is probably the least rated of the four host nations, is like, cool, we ain't got to worry about, having to qualify for two slots with Canada probably taking one of them. So there's that part, but I also think that putting it in bigger stadiums would then obviously increase the inventory. And as you guys mentioned, no, there's going to be matches that don't fill it, but I feel like in the women's game, I would rather try to put them in the big stadiums, increase the inventory, and hopefully that lowers the price and makes it more affordable in an effort to fill said stadiums.
Do you
Again, there's
think that
different ways to do
anyone?
it, but
You
go
think they're
ahead.
actually gonna care about lowering prices or like increase? Like, I just don't think they give a fuck.
No, they
Yeah,
don't care.
this
I'm
is
just saying there's
Gianni
many trains in front.
Infantino's FIFA. Gianni
If he's
Infantino.
still if he's still the FIFA president in 2031, we've already failed. I'll just say
Can we
that.
bring back Sepp? Like,
Oh, Jesus.
Sepp Blatter wasn't that bad. Like compared to like the shit fucking Infantino's up to these days.
The
Like, bring
devil you
back,
know versus the devil you didn't at the time, and
yeah,
you know,
give me Sepp Blatter. Bring Sepp
Yeah.
back, baby.
I mean, if we had only known what lay ahead for us, just a little break in the law wasn't that bad in hindsight, maybe.
I mean,
But
Jack Warner still sucks, but
I mean, point taken. Um, but it's not going to be official until the FIFA Congress in April. That's when the bid is expected to be officially approved. So we are going to have 5 full years of runway to build up this tournament with a World Cup already taking place here in the region in 2026. So a lot of attention on CONCACAF, a lot of big soccer happening here. You just
I will
love to see
mention
it.
I will mention that in 2031, the Rugby World Cup is also supposed to be here in the United States. Now, the dates aren't necessarily going to be the same, but it could mean that some of the stadiums who may want to be involved in the Women's World Cup may not be involved because they're preparing for the Rugby World Cup. And I know they may look like similar sports, but obviously different tournaments with different requirements means preparation is still going to take a couple of months for some of those stadiums. So I'll be interested to see which stadiums end up hosting the Rugby World Cup and which end up hosting the Women's World Cup.
Yeah, we will see. Speaking of World Cups, we should move on and catch everybody up on the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifying, which is taking place. This is our first recording since the last window. So, Donald, I don't know if you want to run people through the current standings and projections and who's sitting in a good spot to move on to both the main tournament and the playoff in March.
So to refresh everybody, there are 12 teams remaining in World Cup qualifying in CONCACAF. There are three groups. The winners of each group are going to directly qualify for the World Cup, and then two of the three second place teams will then advance to the Interconfederation playoffs. So let's catch you up with where they are right now. In Group A, Suriname is atop Group A with 6 points. They have a +1 goal differential. They've actually scored one more goal than Panama, who is on the exact same plane. Guatemala has 5 points. El Salvador with 3 points. In Group B, Jamaica atop Group B with 9 points. Curacao with 8. Trinidad and Tobago with 5. And Bermuda is the lone team that has been eliminated from this round. They are stuck on 0 points. Group C, Honduras is on top with 8 points, Costa Rica in second with 6, Haiti with 5 points, and Nicaragua with 1. All those teams still technically in play for either the direct qualification spot or the Interconfederation playoff. And there are two match dates remaining for each team. All of them, the first one on November 13th. Every team will play November 13th. And then the final match day on November 18th, where I believe the schedule has it where on both of those match dates, every team is going to play at the exact same time. So there's no collusion of any sort from the different games. So that means that your Paramount Plus should be loaded up and ready to go. I don't know if they have multi-view, and if this would be a great time for them to instill it. But
Got to figure it out.
figure it out. Multiple TVs, multiple screens, so that you can watch all these games.
Yeah. And the current ranking of second place teams, remember the top two second place teams will advance to the playoff. Curacao and Costa Rica sitting ahead of Panama in the rankings. Now, obviously, this is pending the final window results, and we've got some big games. In most cases, the top seed and the second seed are in each group are going to be playing each other. So there's a lot still at stake. But I think the one big takeaway from the October window is just Suriname both getting miraculous results for and against them. So Suriname had two matches. They hosted Guatemala. They needed a 90+4 equalizer to get a result from Guatemala. And then on the game on October 14th, they went to Panama. They scored 21 minutes in, leading 1-0 the whole game in Romel Fernandez, which, as those of us who have been there can attest, that is a powder keg. That is a place that is very tough to go and get a result in. They're leading 1-0 the whole game, and then Panama gets a 90+6 equalizer to get a point and keep themselves alive. Suriname could have put themselves in a pole position to qualify directly, and just a bad run of fortune for Ronnie Brunswick's boys in Group A there. I will note in Group B, Jamaica. Obviously, we know what we've already discussed what's going on down there this week. They are going to be hosting Curacao. So it is the 1 and 2 ranked teams in that group on the final match day. So obviously, it's still a couple weeks away, but we're hoping that that game can happen there, and it still means everything to both those teams because monumental opportunity for Curacao.
I think also some of the remaining matches are really, really intense. The fact that Suriname is already done with Panama, so they are at home against El Salvador and then on the road against Guatemala is pretty good for them. But at the same time, Guatemala is only 1 point back of the two of them, and they have two home matches. They have to play the top two teams. They have to play Panama, they have to play Suriname, but they get them both at home, and that creates some intrigue in Group A. Also, we are all fans of the Caribbean Football Union here. Haiti is within range. They need a little help to get past both Costa Rica and Honduras. But if Suriname were to win Group A and Haiti were to come back and win Group C, that means the three direct spots would all be held by the Caribbean Football Union because Group B is nothing but Caribbean islands. So I'm looking forward to seeing how if Suriname could hold off Panama and Guatemala, that'd be monumental. And if Haiti can complete the comeback again, Haiti is playing two games at air quotes home. Their home being Curacao. Curacao is on the road for two games, so they are playing in Curacao Stadium for their two remaining home games.
Also, was it Curacao that had the halftime show of the truck going around the track?
Yes.
Yes, yes, it was Curacao.
Yes. With pyro.
Yeah, UEFA could never have a fucking flatbed truck with a artist performing with pyro at halftime of a World Cup qualification match.
And shout out to Paramount Plus because normally for some of those they go, "Hey, we're going to go to break. We'll be right back." And they did that. And then they saw this roving pickup truck halftime show and they decided, you know what? Let's just leave it on here and let's watch the people, the subs come out and warm up by kicking the ball around and see how many times this truck goes around the track. And that truck with the pyrotechnic halftime show with the song and dance, it did it the entire time. It was just a slow loop. I think it went around the track like 5 or 6 times. Got a bunch of good songs, great music, great vibes. We need more of that in football.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the halftime of Paramount Plus broadcasts from many CONCACAF nations. It's like, you know how Daily Show used to do like your daily like moment of Zen? Like
Hmm.
it's our half times of Zen, where it's just you're just watching people just chill at random points across the region. You just love to see it. But so exciting World Cup qualifying stuff coming up. I don't know if we're gonna be able to put together a full preview between now and then, but look forward to three teams booking their tickets to the 2026 FIFA World Cup. All right, those are kind of a lot of World Cup talk, but we did have some news in regarding the U.S. soccer that we wanted to talk about, just because we travel to games, we do this kind of thing. U.S. soccer came out and confirmed that they're no longer going to be holding January camp, which Camp Cupcake, as it's affectionately known, has taken place for the last couple of decades. It's like obviously European seasons are still going on, but before the summer American league seasons start, they've always held a camp. They've always played a couple games, sometimes featuring CONCACAF opponents. But U.S. Soccer says going forward, it will no longer take place in January. There won't be one in 2026. But after the World Cup going forward, they'll start holding a camp in December. Now, Jonathan, I know you've been to some of these games. Donald, I know you've been to some of these January games. What's your reaction to no longer having Camp Cupcake be a thing?
We used to be a country. I mean, first they came for the East Wing of the White House, and I said nothing. But then they came for January camp.
And I reacted.
Yeah. I've had it with this dump. Um, yeah, like usually January camp is always like the informal, like, all right, let's get back together. Let's have like this loose. It's like a walkthrough for the year. You don't have everybody, but you get to go to some games. Usually it's in a warm place because it is fucking January. Although
Mhm.
Jonathan and I can attest, sometimes it's in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Was
But
was there, was present.
Yeah,
With joy.
Donald
yeah,
was there with us.
I but it was like local for us, which there should never
I
be a.
came I drove down with you. We went to the hockey game and then we drove to the game. The Wings were in town. We had bushwhackers on Broadway. I'm sure you won't remember this because there were bushwhackers on Broadway.
Bushwhackers.
No,
Yes.
Eric did not ride with us. He
Yeah,
Oh,
rode.
no,
no,
no.
yeah, we drove separate.
Yeah.
I went with another
But I
friend of
rode down
ours.
and back with you with Slate.
Yeah, it was
Yep.
Slate. So
We
it
brought
happened.
we
That was
we
8 years
brought
ago. Lay off. I've been to
Hex
I've been
had
to
us bring
60
him hot
some
chicken.
game. Yeah, I've been to 60 some US games since. Like, I'm sorry, I don't remember the details of uh, a 2 hour drive for us. But irregardless, um, do you think a December camp's actually going to serve the same purpose?
So I will say there are a couple um of positives for it being in December. If let's start with the one question mark is if Major League Soccer, and it's a big if right now, if they eventually move to a fall spring schedule, they'll have a winter break in the middle of that. But what that also means is they're not the only team or only league that would have a winter break around that time. Bundesliga is off for a few weeks in the middle of December and early January. Liga MX, some of the Central American teams or leagues have winter breaks, and I think it would allow for more players to be called in, and especially for Major League Soccer, which is the driving force behind this, they won't have to worry about, oh, where you're missing preseason or you're missing A, B, or C. Like, guys will stay fresh by going to this December camp. Now, here's the big thing that I think is going to really suck is we can't schedule trips to the grocery store in December because of the holidays and how much most people got going on. to have a match in the middle of that where they're frankly asking people to fly to places during the holidays where traffic is bad, tickets are expensive, hotels are at a premium, and people just don't have the time because they're saving their time for the actual holidays with to be spending with family and doing that kind of travel. That is going to be the biggest sell. I mean, they already have like the women's window that bleeds into Thanksgiving weekend in the first week of December, and those are always hard draws. And if you've noticed a couple of times in the past few years, they've just gone abroad because they're like, we don't need to worry about people traveling to a unforsaken city in Florida because they're not going to do that in the middle of December because of all the other stuff they got going on. No one's going to care if we go abroad at this point. So I wonder, opining here, if the first December camp is something that is held in the United States and maybe held elsewhere. But again, there's limited numbers of teams that you can play. So where can you go? I know they were talking in years ago about going to Thailand. I'd love that. Anthony Hudson's the new coach there. So
Yeah.
set it up. But
Listen,
I think short of that, let's do it.
I'm sure the Wildy turf is available down in Bridgetown, but from your lips to God's ears that we have away games that time of year, like
Right.
all about it. But it is an interesting point that, yeah, maybe you get more players released when it's that break. But our play, like with the holiday being when it is, knowing when the women's break is, I would assume this would take place after the women's break. You're probably that second weekend in December, which
Hmm.
obviously we know the NFL's going on. There's hockey and basketball going on, but that is after college football. So maybe you
Well,
can
it won't
actually
be.
get.
It won't be because now the playoff, backs that up. So the first playoff games are going to be that week. So again, some of those college stadiums, not college stadiums, but like some of those stadiums will be unavailable for that as well. So it's obviously the Major League Soccer stadiums are available, but then you're still talking about Florida, Texas, California in December that you can all
You put a game in Nashville.
you can
It's
put a
warm
game
enough.
in Nashville, but but would they, right? Because there is a risk now for a lot of cities that it will be cold. It may not be, you may not expect it to be cold, but even here in DC, it's colder on December 13th some years than it is on January 13th. And that's just how global warming works sometimes.
Yeah, it's interesting timing to decide not to do a camp when you've got limited opportunities to get groups together to see players before you've got to name a World Cup roster. So the timing of it is very interesting to me that they didn't just hold off, do this, you know, get these fringe roster guys together, 3 months before you're naming a roster. Um, to just kind of punt on that is interesting to me, even if long term it makes more sense to go in December. But I
There's
don't know.
also there's also and I kind of get it from the team side. Obviously, the teams have long wanted their players to be in for all of preseason, and we've seen some MLS clubs deny call-up because they're saying, "Hey, we got this, CONCACAF Champions League match
Yeah.
coming up, and we need our guys here." Atlanta United famously, like I think they rejected the call-ups for like 5 players because they said, "Oh, we have a game in March," and everybody's like, "That's 2 months away," but they said it's their prerogative to have them in for an entire preseason. I also think that for this particular one, I'm not. I thought there was going to be a January camp, but I wonder if it's to kind of appease the people out there who may think that having a January camp gives the Major League Soccer players in the player pool one more opportunity than the European guys to showcase themselves, especially when the European guys are not around. That might
Well,
be that might be what they again, it's not the what why they did it, but I'm sure that is part of the consideration here.
yeah, and I think one thing that has gone overlooked as a consideration though is what the January camp has done for players because of
Hmm.
the way UK's work permit system works. You need to have X number of caps with a
Right.
certain level of team to be able to qualify for work permit. When the U.S. is a top 15 country, one cap for the national team qualifies you to be able to move to the UK and sign with the team. Guys have been able to qualify for that by just getting a January camp cap. And now with that gone, where it's like, all right, you basically have to go to, I mean, for the next year, anyone who's like a fringe team player, unless you get called in and get on the field, that move that you were looking to make in the summer might not be feasible anymore. And they could have gotten that cap in January. I mean, the way you could remember some guys just by looking at past January camp rosters and seeing who got on the field, just like absolutely ridiculous names. It's like,
It's
go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say like there was famously when we played Trinidad and Tobago a few years ago, we beat them 7-0, and
Mhm.
there were three guys that Greg Berhalter put on the final 5 minutes of the game, including Daryl DK. And everybody's like, "Why are you putting on these guys?" And it turned out the next day, all of them flew to England and signed contracts, and they said, this cap was how we got the work permit, and they were able to keep it for 3 years, and they were able to get on teams. But I also think the other thing that a lot of people like to forget is that January camp not only shapes how some of these guys get involved with the national team, it shapes how some of our World Cup rosters are formed. The amount of guys who have made a World Cup roster and their first or second cap was a January camp game where they had that exposure to the coaching staff and to the process and got that look without a bunch of guys around that were regulars. That's important to some of these players. And so I get why they're not having it this time around because they don't need that evaluation process. We've already kind of, started to narrow down the number of guys. So you're really only calling in the guys who might have that outside shot. But I also think going forward, if it's in December, maybe it's an end of the year thing where guys are still in shape. They're able to put more of their effort into that into that December camp. And for them, it might be more important. And maybe it is it continues to be the feeder system to the rest of the national team that it has always served as.
Yeah. Oh, Slate, you any thoughts?
I mean, on the one hand, like about the work permit piece, I'm wondering though if it could. I know there's not going to be one for this January, but when you move to the December, like, does it make it easier for guys to move earlier in the window? Because instead of having to wait until, because like January camp was always the end of the year or the end of January, and you didn't have as much time to like make a move. So they could be in a situation that, there is going to be the one this year, but ends up being a net positive because guys are able to get their caps out of the way at the end of the season. They maybe stay in shape a little bit more, and then they're able to make the move over to any of the European leagues that are during their secondary transfer window because they're then more fit and ready to go and spend less time having to get up to speed.
Yeah,
Great point.
no, that's entirely possible. I was racking my brain trying to think of like good cases for guys who are in the mix now. They would have needed like got like a January camp um, cap to like break in and then eventually made the move. Aiden Morris, who's having a hell of a year at Middlesbrough in England, his first cap was January camp in 2023,
Matt
and
Turner.
then Matt Turner, yeah. Well, I mean Matt Turner, I mean he's back. He made the move, but
Yeah.
I think Morris is the
Ajimong,
guy. Yeah, Patrick Hajimong. I mean the
Diego
list
Luna.
list goes on. So it'll be interesting change that the ramifications of which we won't know for years to come. But um, I think it's about time we can wrap it up. Um, it's been great chatting with you boys. We should do this more often,
We should.
but
Yes, we should.
there's life and things like that. There's also a Patreon, patreon.com/Concacaf. You can support us there. We love and send kisses to all of our patrons who've been supporting us all this time. May Volar bless you in all of your endeavors. You know. Donald, where can people find you?
At Blazing DW on Instagram, Blue Sky, other platforms.
Yes, Jonathan.
You can find me at JSlape on Blue Sky if I ever post. I've kind of disappeared off the if you can find me on Instagram at YankRed7, but like
Ooh,
I've kind of fallen off the internet.
dishing out the Insta. Sexy. Very nice. Um, you can find us at Podcaf, Pod Cupcaf. Um, we have kind of fallen off on posting. We need to keep up. Um, if we're not keeping up, just follow John Arnold. He's on top of everything, anyways. So shout out John, friend of the pod. Um, Still reading all his stuff. Go subscribe to his newsletter and shit. Um, so we'll wrap up. Do we want to do one more round? Are we doing a one more round? We can do one
Yeah,
more
this is
round.
kind of one more round.
This has been very one more roundish. It's our bonus
Hmm.
episode that you can hear on our Patreon. I think we can get another 10 minutes out of this. So we're gonna keep going after this. You can catch us over on the Patreon, and may Volar guide you. Remember, with Volar, all things are possible.
Hail Valar.